Hello everyone and welcome to Tome of Uselessness. I'm Dan, doing some solo recording, and I wanted to talk to you about an animated show that I watched last year. I've been thinking about doing this kind of recording just to let other people know about it because I think it was really excellent. The show is Primal by Genndy Tartakovsky, who, if you don't know, he did Dexter's Laboratory, Samurai Jack, one of the versions of the Clone Wars, all hand-drawn animated style stuff. Excellent stuff, of course. I'm a huge fan of Samurai Jack especially, and I really liked his version of the Clone Wars, even though it was, initially commercials and then kind of became a show. I think it's still very excellent, and it's some great quality, animation and storytelling. This show, Primal, it's 10 episodes, so not a lot out right now, and they kind of split. They showed the first half in 2019, and then the second half just played in 2020 in October. So the entire show is finished, and I believe it's available on HBO Max. So I don't know if it's on Crave or where else to kind of see it, but it was Adult Swim. And it's great. It's kind of a fantasy prehistory. Yeah, so it takes place in this prehistoric era, but then there are, dinosaurs and creatures and just wild things that are happening. And our main character, Spear, as he's known, is kind of this caveman-esque man, and he's very square-featured and runs on his fists and jumps and hunts and etc. And he has a companion, Fang, who is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, but a smaller one. And it's kind of them going and getting into situations and stuff like that. Initially, I was very unsure, like when I first watched it, because I was kind of like, I don't know, this man character and a dinosaur kind of working together, but as the stories continue, as the show continued, I totally dig, it was just great, and the storytelling is very simple, but it's not a criticism, it's just like they tell their simple story in such an effective way that you get it, and it's very enjoyable. One of the main things is, again, because it's in this historical type setting, that there's no dialogue. There's a lot of screaming and yelling and creatures roaring and stuff like that, but there's very little to zero dialogue in most episodes. And it really reminds me a lot of when in Samurai Jack especially, there would be sequences in some episodes, like I'm thinking mainly in, I think it's one of the earlier seasons, maybe season 1 or 2, where he fights, Samurai Jack that is, fights an assassin in a tower, and it's sunny and shadowy, and there's no dialogue, very little music, and very little sound effects, but it's all just visually storytelling, and it's brilliant, and you get it. And that's kind of what this show has going for it, is it's stark with its landscapes, where it's just blank nothing, but you can tell, the characters are in a wasteland, or it's a lush jungle, but again, it's so just, it puts you right there, and it's so well created that, like I said, its character designs are simple, and again, that's not a criticism, it's just, it's a man, and he's got a spear, and it's a dinosaur, and they're just going around getting into these situations, and even the things that they encounter, like larger dinosaurs, and, crazy bat creatures, and all sorts of stuff like that. Again, it's all very primal, I guess, in the way that it's, like I said, it's just like all these heightened versions of these creatures, because it's like this prehistoric fantasy setting where, they encounter a spider, but it's not a small spider. It's 3 times bigger than a human would be, and it's giant, and it's gross, and it's so well designed that, you're just like, ugh, this thing is creeping me out. The show is very brutal, in a way even that I was surprised at. And, it's cartoon violence, but many times in shows, and again, maybe referencing back to Samurai Jack and stuff like that, he's cutting up robots and etc. But in here, the spear character and the dinosaur, but, they're fighting dogs or man-ape type creatures, and, they're stabbing them and stuff like that. And normally, the animation, they just kind of show the stabbing and move on, but there's, blood and gore, and it's visceral and brutal, and it was very surprising to me, but it, again, really builds into this setting and the world and the story that they're trying to tell. that, like I said, initially I was kind of shocked, but it really works for the show and just again shows you this world that these two characters are inhabiting. It's not a nice place, and really sells it. I also think that the show is beautiful. Devin and I have always wanted to do a Ghibli episode. It's mostly all on me because I want to watch them all. But, you know, every frame of painting is such a cliche saying, but in this, like I was saying, the stark landscapes and the beautiful jungle and the character designs and the world, it's brutal and beautiful at the same time because it's just so well drawn, so well animated. And the technology, of course, of animation has improved. And, like, I know it's hand-drawn mixed with digital, and that's just, like, the realm and the world we live in. And there could be many digital elements, like I know, or at least you can tell, like, the colorization that they use in some stuff. It's a very digital green color, but and the way it's used, it's, again, all really heightens this world and just makes so many shots and so many poses, and I want to say cells, but you know what I mean, like the frames are just so gorgeous that you don't want to look away and you want to continue to watch this show. Excuse me, very dusty. I don't talk a lot. Stuck in my basement. So for me, the only kind of criticism I have for the show is that there's no kind of overall goal. Again, referencing Samurai Jack in a sense where he has a goal. Jack, that is, you know, got to get back to the past or kill a coup, one of the two. And in this, the characters are kind of just, their goal is sort of just survival, which kind of works for the premise and for the world that they're in. But then there's no kind of just like, what are they doing, right? But I was also reading a little bit some of the background in the show, and Tartakovsky was very much inspired by Conan and like pulp novels and stuff like that, which then it really makes sense because if I've read many Conan stories and they're a lot of fun, but it's that same kind of situation where Conan's just wandering in somewhere and then he just stumbles into a situation, or, you know, he's on a boat and a storm crashes it and he's on a weird island and then he encounters something. So I could definitely see that, how that plays with these characters, because again, in the opening they're fishing on a small river and then something wild just happens and just starts going crazy, right? And then it's just them trying to survive and stuff like that. So again, it's a very small criticism that is just kind of like, what are they doing? Who knows, right? But that's not like the point of the show, which I get, but it'd be interesting if there was something kind of going on there. But again, minor criticism, because everything else about the show is so good that it doesn't really halt my enjoyment. There's some great music, which is done by Tyler Bates, and now I'm curious. I wrote down the name. It's either Johan or Joanne Higginbottom. So I'm unsure of that person, but I know Tyler Bates. He's done movie scores in the past. Like I know he's done 300, and he's done other stuff like that. So the music again really adds to the world and heightens everything up. I know as well, I was looking into it, that Genndy Tartakovsky is listed as the director and stuff like that, but he didn't write every episode. He co-wrote a lot of them and wrote some, but then there was also some other writers, so that was kind of interesting to see that there's some other voices in these stories, that it's not just him doing it all. At least good for me. Like I said, as someone who enjoyed this, it did get renewed for a season 2. That was confirmed in August of last year, so hopefully we can expect that. Who knows? It'll take time, I assume, because again, it's mostly hand-drawn ice, I'm guessing. Talking about that season 2, slight spoiler here, the last episode of episode 10, was called Slave of the Scorpion, and like I said, it's just a situation, they're fishing, and then they encounter a woman who's bound, or at least she has like a collar, and she has some manacles on, and she's got like a scorpion tattoo, and eventually they kind of, become friends, and she sort of explains in a language that he doesn't understand and we don't know, when she kind of is drawing it out, but it's like there was some kind of conqueror that captured her and her people, and so she was enslaved and escaped, and at the end of the episode she gets captured again as she's leaving Spear speaks her name. So I was like, oh, is that like a possible setup for like a season 2 that he might try to travel there? Or again, like I said, Conan style, they'll just move on and get into some other situations. But yeah, the creativity in the situations was quite interesting. Like some of the, the names are kind of like, a river of snakes, a cold death, a terror of the blood moon, and a plague of madness. That was a crazy episode, the plague of madness episode, and like Coven of the Damned. So, like I said, just very different situations, either involving, just other people getting attacked or they getting attacked and all sorts of weird stuff. But great storytelling, great animation, and just a very enjoyable show. The episodes are like 22 minutes because it's, played on television, so there's commercials and stuff like that. So they're very, very short relative to other stuff, but very enjoyable. So yeah, I don't think I can say anything more because otherwise I will repeat myself several times. But that's Primal by Genndy Tartakovsky. Definitely check it out if you can. I think I'll just wrap up by saying, we have our website, tomeofuselessness.com. You can email us, tomeofuselessness@gmail.com. We have social media presence and stuff like that. And, you can check out our website or check us out on iTunes, Spotify, where have you, for episodes, Devin and I talking about other things. I hope you stay safe, and thanks for listening.